the U.S. Attorney General and former top law enforcement official from Florida, finds herself at the heart of the debate over whether more information will be disclosed on the alleged sex trafficker. Attorney General Pam Bondi is at the center of the Jeffrey Epstein storm. She was among the loudest voices calling for transparency in the Epstein case, before and after becoming the country's top law enforcement officer. But a firestorm of criticism erupted after Bondi's Justice Department issued a statement nearly 3 weeks ago, confirming Epstein died by suicide and saying no further records would be released. Now, Bondi, 59, finds herself at the heart of the debate over whether more information will be disclosed on the suspected sex trafficker. Despite his death 6 years ago, Epstein's case continues to haunt the headlines because of rampant speculation about which rich and powerful people might have joined him in sexually abusing minors. Bondi has said there was no client list in Epstein's criminal file, but President Donald Trump's name reportedly appears in the documents, and he was a repeat passenger on Epstein's private jet when the two were friends. In the 1990s, Trump has denied wrongdoing or visiting Epstein's private island, where much of the abuse allegedly occurred. The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep, said White House Communications Director Stephen Chung, referring to Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in South Florida. Meanwhile, Bondi served as Florida's state attorney general years after Palm Beach County authorities convicted Epstein on prostitution charges and released him in 2009 after 13 months in detention, which was mostly work release. Federal authorities chose not to prosecute Epstein at all in what critics called the legal deal of the century. After a Miami Herald investigation of his case, New York-based federal prosecutors charged Epstein in July of 2019 with sex trafficking minors. He died in jail a month after his arrest, and long before any criminal trial could happen in what the New York Medical Examiner ruled, and the Justice Department confirmed, was a suicide. Now, Bondi has asked federal judges to release grand jury transcripts in the case. One has already turned her down, and another has asked for more documentation, and federal prosecutors and Bondi's no. 2. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche met July 24th and again July 25th with Ghislaine Maxwell, an Epstein associate serving a 20-year federal prison sentence for conspiracy to sexually abuse minors. Here are the highlights of Bondi's involvement in the case. Did Bondi investigate Epstein as Florida Attorney General? After years of state-level investigation, Epstein pleaded guilty in 2008 to 1 count of soliciting prostitution and 1 count of soliciting prostitution from someone under age 18 during the inquiry. Then Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Reiter disagreed with how Palm Beach State Attorney Barry Krischer was handling the case and invited then U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, an appointee from the George W. Bush administration, to investigate. But in what critics called the legal deal of century, Epstein served 13 months on the 2 state charges under an agreement not to charge him federally. Bondi, a Republican, was elected statewide more than a year after Epstein was released, and was Florida's Attorney General for 2 terms, from 2011 to 2019. State attorneys such as Krischer are elected independently and don't report directly to the Attorney General. Dave, a Democrat who stepped down this year after a dozen years as Palm Beach State Attorney, said the Epstein matter never went before Bondi. Zero overlap, said Aaron Burr, who was Florida's state drug czar under Bondi. It was long over by the time she got there. Robert Jarvis, a law professor at Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, said after state and federal prosecutors concluded their case that there appeared to be nothing more for Bondi to pursue. There was no reason to start a new investigation, Jarvis said, unless new evidence was brought to Bondi's office. Bondi said Epstein never should have been released. Still, with accusations of more than 1,000 victims in the case, Republicans and conspiracy theorists have long argued for the release of additional information. Because of skepticism, Epstein died by suicide, and demands for a presumed client list that could lead to more prosecutions. 2 days after Epstein died, Bondi told Sean Hannity on Fox News on August 12, 2019, that the financier should have never been let out of custody. He should have never been released when he was in jail serving his jail time. Someone who is accused of sex crimes convicted should never be on work release, Bondi said. So what do we have now? We have a dead, most likely pedophile, coward, and we have very brave victims who want to face the person that did this to them. Bondi pledged to release information after becoming Attorney General shortly after her confirmation in early February as Trump's second-term U.S. Attorney General. Bondi again highlighted the case and began pledging to release files. Fox News host John Roberts asked Bondi on February 21 whether she would release the list of Epstein's clients. "Will that really happen?" he asked. "It's sitting on my desk right now to review," Bondi replied. "That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that." Then Bondi told Fox News host Jesse Watters on February 26 more information would be released. "I think tomorrow. Jesse, breaking news, right now. You're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office." She then added, "What you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. This is not what we or the American people asked for and a complete disappointment," Representative Anna Paulina Luna R. Florida wrote on social media February 27. "Get us the information we asked for." Bondi made a point of noting in a February 27 letter to FBI Director Kash Patel that she had requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein, but learned she received only a fraction of them. She initially received about 200 pages, which consisted primarily of flight logs, Epstein's list of contacts, and a list of victims' names and phone numbers, she wrote. But the FBI field office in New York notified her that day there were thousands more pages of records, audio and video recordings, and other materials related to Epstein and his clients. "There will be no withholdings or limitations to my or your access," Bondi wrote Patel. "The Department of Justice will ensure that any public disclosure of these files will be done in a manner to protect the privacy of victims and in accordance with law, as I have done my entire career as a prosecutor." Appearing on Hannity's Fox News program, Bondi on March 3 said an order she issued in February resulted in a truckload of Epstein files being delivered by the FBI. "Thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them," Bondi said. "We believe in transparency, and America has the right to know." Justice Department release on Epstein sparks criticism. The Justice Department released a memo July 7 that said a systematic review revealed no incriminating client list and confirmed Epstein died by suicide in August 2019. Perpetuating unfounded theories about Epstein serves neither to combat child exploitation nor bring justice to victims. According to the memo, no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. The memo set off a firestorm of criticism from inside Trump's Make America Great Again movement and calls for the release of more information. Charlie Kirk, head of the conservative nonprofit organization Turning Point USA, listed 10 things he thinks should be done about the files and witnesses. Kirk later said he was done talking about Epstein and trusted his friends in the administration. Representative Lauren Boebert, Ehi Colorado, said on the podcast The Benny Show that no one is satisfied with what has been received, or lack thereof. Reps Marjorie Taylor Greene, R. Georgia, and Thomas Massie, R. Kentucky, co-sponsored a petition to force a House vote on releasing the files. The next day at a White House cabinet meeting, Trump discouraged reporters from asking questions about Epstein. "Are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable," Trump said, instead encouraging coverage of legislative victories and recovery for catastrophic flooding in Texas. It just seems like a desecration. But you go ahead. 2 seats to Trump's right at the July 8 cabinet meeting. Bondi then tried to clarify her remarks from the February interview with John Roberts and said she was referring to the entire Epstein file rather than a specific client list. I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, not the client list, she told reporters. Bondi also said jailhouse video from New York was missing a minute because of a nightly reset for the outdated recording system, and she said any of Epstein's videos from the investigation would never see the light of day, because they contain child pornography. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein, Bondi said. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released.